And welcome to today's webinar, Dynamic Digital Signage Opportunities for Sign Companies. My name is Greg Collin. I'm the Product Manager for Digital Signage here at Roland DGA. With me is Mark O'Connor, the Business Development Manager for Digital Signage. And also with us is Tim Greene with InfoTrends. Our agenda for today is we're going to start off with an industry overview, market segments, and digital signage opportunities presented by Tim Greene. After that, we'll go into a discussion around digital signage. We'll follow that with a brief intro to Roland's Display Studio. And if there's time permitting at the end, we will have a Q&A session. Without further ado, I'll turn it over to Tim Greene.
One of the greatest rules of management is the customers define what's valuable, right? Digital signage has quantifiable benefits to sign customers. You've got much more timely messaging, the ability to control that, day parting, things like being able to control those messages very, very tightly in a very real-time kind of fashion. Those things have quantified into a real sales lift. For example, the use of digital menu boards. I've been doing a lot of secondary research on this, and the average digital menu board, just replacing a printed menu with the digital menu board, the average upsell is about 5%. So, that doesn't seem like the sexiest number in the world, but when you think about the scale of the fast food industry changing or growing sales by 5%, that is huge in markets where small increases in daily activity can have a huge impact on revenue. There's also, we've seen multiple studies in like banks and doctor's office, dentist's office, where place digital sign has the additional benefit of perceived reduction of waiting time. And then we also think that sign shops have access to customer content in digital assets, plus the business goals of those customers, and being able to understand those things is going to provide a little bit easier or shorter runway into getting into this market. The other reason we think a lot of sign shops should get into this market is that a lot of their customers are looking for something new, right? And so we see things like, through our research, we see an increase in activity around interactivity or integration with things like social media or integration with gaming. And what you're looking at, the pictures on the right-hand side of this chart are examples from an organization, a company called Ireland Electric. And they set up this tweet cafe thing. Basically, you can see the digital sign on the left-hand side, and you can see how it's basically there was a bunch of treats in those squares, and a passerby could tweet that they wanted something in one of those numbered squares. So they might say, that cup of soup in square number 9 looks good at Ireland Electric, and the box would just open automatically. And that's a fantastic example of how social media can integrate with digital sign, and it's just well beyond anything that's possible in the print side. In gaming is another one. There's another example from Red Bull recently where if you're playing an online Red Bull game, and when you win the game, and it's quite simple to win, when you win the game, if you're standing by a Red Bull Smart refrigerator, when you win, it would automatically kick out a Red Bull for the person who won that game, provided by their phone on their mobile phone. So they're adding gamification to digital signage, and again, it's sort of it can be quite small, like this Ireland Electric, which is one implementation. But recently, I was just reading about Coca-Cola doing the same kind of thing with smart refrigerator technology. So there's some really interesting applications for digital signage that includes interactivity. Then the last thing is, you can see that some of these setups, like this Ireland Electric one, they include some other print and construction or conversion sort of tools, right? So we see that a lot of companies that are buying digital signage systems, they actually buy digital print that goes along with that. So it could be a dedicated floor graphic that leads viewers right to where they want them to see parts of the wall, or even parts of a POP display that may have a digital sign integrated right into the construction of this POP. So it actually can lead to additional digital print activity. And actually that sort of leads me to one of the things that people ask about sometimes, like, what do we see a digital display, does it have a negative influence on print? And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Like, what we're seeing is that there are certain elements of the market where definitely it does. So we've asked the question in some of our work in the past, we've asked, have you considered, or are you now using digital displays instead of wide format graphics? And you can see that at this point, only about 10% of the companies, the people who buy wide format graphics, that's who was answering the survey, only about 10% said they have purchased digital displays. Another almost 30% say they plan to use them in the future. And then when we ask if they said, yeah, we plan to use them in the future, the follow-up question to that was, do you see that displacing the printed part of what you're doing, or do you see it just complementing? And you can see, basically 4 out of 5 times the company says it doesn't have any effect on how much print we buy. I think that's a very important component of it, because there might be some element of fear about how many people, that is, some people might say, oh, I don't want to do this because it would threaten my existing business. So, the other thing that I think is a little imposing is, the scale of things, right? So, I like to use this kind of framework for analysis, but digital signage means a lot of different things to different people. There are very high-end solutions, which are basically, broadcast receivers with enormous displays. That would obviously be the high end of the market. Then through the mid-range, where you have, probably network displays that are sort of centrally controlled. Then you have entry-level display systems, which are basically just, you get your content creation mechanism, you get a player and a display. It's very simple, and that's the way we see a lot of sign shops entering this market now, and a lot of the different suppliers have provided some very nice tools to do that. But the simpler the system, the easier it is to enter the market. And we think a lot of shops, like I said, they haven't done it. Maybe they're afraid it will replace their traditional business, or they're afraid they don't have the skills needed to set up a large-scale kind of system. But again, if you think about it from a different sort of way and say, like, what's the entry level to this kind of thing, it's quite simple for many companies. And so digital signage, to me, again, based on all the secondary research we've done, it's clearly a growth market. We're very excited about it because we know a lot of shops that are in the wide format signage and graphics industry are segueing into this market, or want to segue into this market, and we really think a lot of them should be looking at it as an opportunity. With that, I'd like to hand it back to you, Greg.
Great. Thank you very much, Tim. You bring up some very good points. And just wanted to raise a question here. Based on the market framework you described, it seems there isn't a simple solution for all needs. So what advice or strategy would you encourage an existing sign shop to use if considering getting into this market?
Yeah, you're right. So the sort of the two things I would suggest. First of all, I would start small, because again, you want to address the idea that these companies, a lot of shops may be somewhat risk averse, so you'd probably want to start quite small. And I don't mean to be too self-serving here, but honestly, I think you should probably try to go with suppliers and distributors with whom they're already doing business. In many cases, they have good relationships from the vendor side that they should be working with.
Okay. Tim, what would you say would be the downside for a sign shop that chooses not to embrace digital signage and give it as one of their product offerings?
I think there's a real opportunity cost, right? So, if it does threaten your business, it does threaten a business in a sense. Like, if you don't do it, and your customers are seeing, say, their competitors, or they're seeing these things roll out in other markets, and you're not offering it as a sign shop, you should be aware that somebody else will offer it. So I think it's one of those it's very simple, but if as a sign shop, if you don't do it, you're leaving the door open for someone else to do it for your customer.
Okay. Also, some sign shops may perceive digital signage as a threat to existing print business. Is that a true assumption?
Actually, yes and no. Like I said in the slide before, but you know, we did some work with when we did the survey with the FESPA organization. We asked, are there some applications that are threatened by digital signage? And you know, just as an observer of this market, definitely I can see things like, you know, billboards, and but people identified for us backlit and point of purchase. Well, billboards, backlit, and point of purchase, that's kind of the, in some ways, the backbone of the digital printing business. And we asked other questions about, you know, where do they want to see more interactivity, where do buyers want to see more interactivity. And again, it's sort of the same set of applications as POP and banners and signs. So they want to see some, you know, more influence from this kind of, I'd call it more intelligent type of signs. And so there's definitely parts that are threatened, okay? But then, as I said before, there's also parts that I think you're going to see as a sign shop, you'll probably see upside, right? So somebody might say, well, I don't just want you to put that on the wall. We'd like to do something to sort of drive the viewer's eyeballs onto that screen. So, you know, maybe we could create a set of banners that leads up to that suspend from the ceiling, or maybe we could make a floor graphic that would roll right across the floor and lead the viewer's eyeballs right up to that screen that we want them to see. You know, what we see when you look at some of the, you look at a lot of the literature, you see, you know, people take pictures and they all look like European, sort of very clean, very cosmopolitan styled, with very few graphics around them. But then when you see them, when you actually go and you actually view digital signs in context, there's almost always a lot of printed graphics surrounding those signs. So I see it in some cases as a threat. Yes, in other cases is probably driving some more additional digital print activity.
Okay,
great. Can you also give us maybe some of the advantages that, say, a sign shop would have in offering digital signage over, say, like an AV company, where they're also trying to maybe hit some of the same customers but have a different business model?
Sure. So I think that's, you just put your finger on it right there. I mean, they as a sign shop, you kind of already know the customer, right? You know what they're trying to accomplish. You have a relationship with that business. Also, you probably also have access to their content, right? So in terms of the runway, like showing these guys, like, here's what we can do for you. Here's the upside, meaning like you're going to see an uptick in sales based on us digitizing your content, which is, you know, already controlled. And it can be very, very simple to do. It's also not, you know, a huge network. Like, you know, I think of the AV guys as much more able to compete at the mid-range of this market framework, less so at the very, very low end of the market. It's almost like, I don't want to say it's below them, but it's almost like if it's very small scale, they're probably not interested. What you see a lot of those companies publicizing is, you know, we networked, you know, 200 McDonald's stores, or we did 500 Carl's Jr.'s. The 1, 2, 3 kind of installations, it's almost like they don't really pay great attention to that business.
Thank you, Tim. Some great information there, and now I'm sure everyone is definitely interested and asking the question why they should get into digital signage. Basically, it's one of the fastest growing segments of the signage market, as Tim has alluded to, and also it complements and does not replace existing print signage. So we want you to grow your business, not replace it. And most likely your customers will ask, and if you don't offer it, chances are your competitors will, and that would be to your customers. Who is using digital signage? Well, you're probably seeing it a lot of places, restaurants, offices, schools, veterinarians, beauty supply salons, and most likely a lot of those people are already your customers. So ideally, you don't need to run out and start looking for new customers. Just talk with your existing customers. And as a sign shop provider of signage to existing customers, you definitely do have a distinct advantage over audiovisual companies thinking of getting into this segment. One, there's an opportunity to deepen the relationship with your current customers because you're basically giving them something that they are already wanting, or in the near future they will want. You're already managing their graphics because they are your customer, and there's a very easy transition to digital signage if you already have the graphics. Instead of sending it to the printer, you're now just sending it to the digital player. And also there's an opportunity to attract new customers and grow your business. You can get into content management, which would be a new revenue stream. And basically what that means is that after you sell the system to your customer, there's an opportunity to manage the content of that digital signage on an ongoing basis. And that could be a monthly arrangement, quarterly, where you update their signage as needed. So if they have seasonal specials, you can accomplish that. Chances are they're going to want to focus on their business, and they're not really as skilled with digital signage or signage in general as you or your staff are. Ideally, you should be your #1 customer, and this will give you an opportunity to have digital signage in your office or your store, promoting your business services to your existing customers. So ideally, if your customers are coming to pick up a banner, you're also advertising the fact that you do vehicle wraps, engraving, t-shirt printing, other signage. And it enables you to get comfortable with the system also. Ideally, the more time you spend on it, the better you'll be. But again, it's a very simple system, and again, it's fairly easy to master this. Another thing is that will give you the ability to demonstrate digital signage to your customers, because again, if you already have their files and you're using them to print, again, with a couple of small changes to the graphics, you can easily drag them into a digital signage playlist and show off that to your customer and get them interested. Why Roland Digital Signage? Well, we've come up with a very simple solution for our customers. We know our customers. We've been doing this for over 25 years. We are in the sign industry. We make the printers, and the solution we've come up with is, again, it just suits the needs of our current sign shops, which is basically it's a player, a digital player with the embedded Display Studio software on it and commercial grade monitors. So basically we offer some packages that are a sign in a box, and that would consist of the cables, the brackets, the player, the software, already loaded, and the monitor. And again, this will it's all covered by a 3-year warranty. Most of the installations, we believe, are going to be less than 5 monitors, and in many cases just 1 or 2. So again, it's not huge installations or huge projects, very easily manageable stuff to your existing customers. So the software, the Display Studio software, it's very simple. It's drag and drop. It's common file formats: JPEG, PDF, PowerPoint, and video, files that you're already used to working with. You can stream web content and schedule playlists, and there will be templates included for the layout of the screen. Again, in most cases, the layout of these screens is usually about 3 to 5 zones. Again, keep it simple, something that someone can easily pick up the message within 3 to 5 seconds. So the fewer zones, the better, and you can get more repetitive. The media player, again, it's a small compact media player. It's directly connected to the monitor via HDMI cable, so it's not a cloud-based system, and it's always connected. The player itself can be remote accessed via Wi-Fi, or if it's networked into your system. The displays, they're commercial grade monitors, and we offer 4 sizes: 30, 40, 32, 40, 46, and 55 inch. They're industrial grade, higher quality screens, anti-glare, and you can schedule on-off of the monitor as well. And now we're going to go over the software, and I'm going to demonstrate basically loading some files into the player. I'm just going to So here's the software that you would pull up, say, on your laptop. Over here to the left-hand side is your library. So in order to have files in a playlist, you would need to have the files first in the library. And then once you have them in the library, you can create a playlist. And out here, this is a playlist. And you would just drag whatever files you want to play into the playlist. And then here's the scheduling. And then I'll also demonstrate that. So let's, here we are locating some files on our computer. We highlight the files we want to drag into the library. You can see we've dragged them over. They're loading in. And now they're in. Move on to the next slide. And now we're going to build a playlist. So the files are already in the library. We're going to create a new playlist. Add that to our playlist. And now we're dragging the files that we want into our playlist. And you just at this point would arrange the order of the slides in the playlist. And here we're adjusting the time that each item is going to play for each file. And you would save that. Your playlist is now ready to go. Okay, on this slide we're going to show you the ability to schedule playlists. So if you had a customer that had, say, a breakfast, lunch, and dinner menu, and they wanted a different playlist for each time of the day, you can schedule that on a daily basis, a weekly basis, or a monthly basis. And so we've already created the playlist. We've set the order of the slides, the time. It's already saved. And now we're ready to send it to our monitor. Final change on the order. And here we go. It's as easy as pressing the send button. And that is our playlist right there in action. And here it actually is in the retail setting. And as you can see, it actually complements or is complemented by the print signage, and it complements it also. So it's fairly dynamic, and again, it's very appealing, it's eye-catching. The most important thing is that there's movement on the sign, so it is eye-catching. And that pretty much is the overview of the Roland Display Studio system. And now we'd like to go into some questions that have come in. Okay, Greg, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a couple questions. Someone had asked, is it networkable and can files be loaded remotely? The system is actually designed so that you connect to it over IP, so you connect it to your network, you have your laptop on the same network, and then you would connect into the box with an IP address, so that way you can manage the files and load the files up. Now, when you place it at the customer site, you don't need that anymore. It can just be standalone with power and a signal cable, HDMI cable going into the screen, and that would be just fine. If there were a situation where the customer had a network in their shop and internet access, and you wanted to display maybe a web page or a Twitter feed, you could do that as well. It will access the internet if the network is set up that way. So if you wanted to, there's also talk about whether you can do it remotely to do managed content. If from your shop you can access the box again through IP address, then you should be able to update the content. The box really, to be honest, the way it's designed, it doesn't care. If it's on the network, if it can be accessed from the internet, you should be able to access it as well to update content. But that really just depends on the way their network is set up and their particular situation. There's another question about in which countries and what languages will this be available. It is going to be sold to outside the U.S., to Canada and Latin America as well. So again, just as we say now, is talk with your dealers. We're selling this in the same way that we're selling our printers. So it's going to go through one of our dealers, and you would, as a sign shop, would talk with them about purchasing those. And the pricing that you see, I don't think we're mentioning in the webinar, but the pricing you see is actually intended for the sign shop.
I have a question here that came through also. Basically, the question is the system cloud-based? No, it is not cloud-based. It's actually direct connect. It's on a player, so all the playlist, all the content is, you place it on the player, which is directly attached to the monitor. We actually have a custom bracket that goes behind the monitor, and via HDMI cable, you are connected directly to that monitor.
Another question, someone had asked about RSS feeds and whatnot. Yes, there is a method for implementing an RSS feed in the signage if you wanted to have that kind of scrolling content on there. That is an option.
And I think that's, any other questions, or?
Oh wait, yeah, here's another one. Someone wants to know, can you set up different playlists on different monitors? The way the system's designed, it's intended to be one screen, one player, and that's why you see with the kit that we sell, as Mark mentioned earlier, the screen, the player with the software installed, the cable, and the wall mounting bracket. Basically everything you need to get it going. But again, it's intended one player, one screen. If you wanted to do different content, you would need a different screen and a different player, of course, connected to that. But the way it's designed, again, is one player, one screen.
Okay. Well, great. I think we're going to wrap it up here. And
just want to thank everyone for watching our webinar today. We appreciate you attending, and I hope you found some valuable information during this presentation. I want to thank Tim Greene with InfoTrends for joining us on this webinar. And you can go to rolanddga.com/Roland Academy for all of our past webinars that we've done. And if you want any specific information on Display Studio, you can go to rolanddga.com/Display Studio. Again, thank you very much.